What's doing, everybody? I'm Alec. Thank you for watching First Class Fatherhood. I have got an absolute banger of a guest to bring you guys today. Former United States Navy SEAL, Medal of Honor recipient, and former U.S. Senator of Nebraska, Bob Kerrey, joins me on the podcast today. Bob Kerrey received the Medal of Honor for his courageous actions during the Vietnam War. It is a tremendous honor for me to have him on the podcast today. So go down there and smack that subscribe button, tap the like, and let's jump into it right now with Senator Bob Kerrey on First Class Fatherhood. Joining me now, First Class Father, Senator Bob Kerrey. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Thank you.
All right, this is quite an honor for me. Thank you for your service. Let's start it off like this. How many kids do you have and how old are they?
I have three. I have a 45-year-old, a 43-year-old, and an 18-year-old.
Wow, okay. Any grandkids yet or no?
Yes, I have four grandchildren. One of my 18-year-old's best friends is my 15-year-old grandson.
Awesome.
Pretty strange life.
If you could elaborate here just for a second, just hit my listeners with a little bit about your background and what you do.
Well, so I was born in Nebraska, went to school out in Nebraska, was practicing pharmacy, doing research when my draft status changed. In 1966, I volunteered for the Navy Reserve. Put in an application to go to officer candidate school, went there, volunteered for underwater demolition, went to Coronado for that and was selected for SEAL team, did Army Airborne Ranger School, went to Vietnam, got blown up there, came home, started a business, did that for about 10 years, ran for governor and won, went back to business, actually went out to University of California, Santa Barbara and taught a class on the Vietnam War, about which I knew almost nothing. And the senior senator in Nebraska died, and I ended up coming back a year later and running for and winning a seat in the Senate in '88, ran again in '94, and then I fell in love with a woman on 7 December 1995, and she would only agree to marry me if I agreed to try to have another child, and I decided not to do that in politics and left the Senate. And was president of a university in New York City for 10 years, and then stepped down. And I'm currently a managing director at Allen & Company in New York City.
Yeah, you've had just an incredible life. It almost reads like a Hollywood script there, like multiple lifetimes for what you've done throughout your life. And along this journey then, Senator, how old were you then when you first became a dad? And how did becoming a father kind of change your perspective on life?
I was 30 years old when my first son was born, and I was there in the delivery room, both for him and my daughter, who was born 2 years later, and it's life-changing. I mean, it was the first time in my life that I understood what it meant to love somebody unconditionally, and it goes on forever. I mean, it's one of the challenges of parenthood is that as long as I'm alive, I'm a dad. And I have less responsibilities for my older children than I did when they were younger, before they were supporting themselves. But if they got a problem, my daughter had cancer last year, and I've got to be with her. So it's quite a wonderful thing. It's in some ways it's like SEAL team, and that we work together and we take care of each other. But it's, I would say, quantitatively much larger.
Yeah, very well said. And I know just from a little bit about your history there that your father was a very big family man. A family was very important to him. And one of the things I discuss on my show quite a bit is that we have a fatherless crisis that's going on in our country, where so many kids are growing up without a father in their life. And that definitely has an impact on them, especially not getting that discipline from their dad. So I usually like to ask, what type of disciplinarian were you as a dad when the kids were growing up? And was it different than the discipline style that you had growing up?
No, I would say it's approximately the same. I gave my kids rules, what they could do and couldn't do. I tried to balance my love for them with the need to be, responsible, and tell them that they got to pay the price if they make a mistake. Because and to get them to understand that though we're all born with different sets of talents and under different life conditions, there always will be a correlation between effort and results. So particularly when they entered the workforce, I gave them the same advice that my father gave me, which is show up to work on time, meaning don't show up right on time. Get there a little early. Do the best you possibly can at whatever your boss asks you to do, whether it's carrying out the trash or it doesn't really matter. And then thirdly, don't complain about the work until until the work is over and you come home. Nobody wants to hear somebody whining about how difficult life is. So, and I suppose a few odds and ends that came from Vincent Oliveira, who is the enlisted person that was in charge of our underwater demolition training. Some of the values that come out of SEAL team as well, I suspect, went across the way to my kids.
Yeah, and I know one of the things, especially for being a son, you know, we always look up to our fathers. We're always trying to oppress them, always trying to show, you know, our value to our dads. And having a father that's a Medal of Honor recipient and has accomplished so much, that could be quite a tall order to live up to. Did that ever create any type of issues between your sons when they were growing up? Was there any situation where they were trying to outdo or trying to impress you?
They can't outdo me. No, look, the thing that I have that was enormously important for them is I was injured. So their father's an amputee, and they watch me. They watch how I deal with that, and what they see is I don't complain about it. I don't let it get in my way. I may get angry every now and then about it, but it changes who I am. When people say to me, and I visit hospitals oftentimes, seeing guys that either through disease or injury lost a limb or suffered some loss and a trauma. I would never say to them, "You're going to be everything you can do everything you could do before." That just isn't true. It's a big change in your life. You've lost something that's really important. On the other hand, you can do things you couldn't do before. So you know your life and poker, I tell my kids, life and poker are exactly the same. You're dealing with imperfect knowledge. And meaning you can study, and you figure out your poker hand. And, you know, sometimes you'll win with nothing and sometimes you'll lose with a great hand. Luck matters. And the worst thing you can do in poker and the worst thing you can do in life is sit around and bitch about how bad things are. It may be that things are bad and you've got reason to bitch about it, but it doesn't get you anywhere and it doesn't cause anybody to want to be around you. And I'm shut up in a minute. I'm talking too much, I have a sense. But one of the things I would say to them, I actually got from listening to Warren Buffett, who's from Nebraska as well, give a speech to a conference that we did when I was in the Senate, helping high school students understand how they can use compounding interest rates to accumulate wealth over a long period of time. And the first kid that asked a question to Warren was, you know, he stood up and said, "Sir, I'm no disrespect. We've been studying how to become wealthy all day long, but aren't most wealthy people jerks?" And his answer was an answer I gave to my own kids later in life, which is, you've got three things in life. You've got energy, you've got intelligence, and you've got character. And your energy and your intelligence, you've got plenty of that. But the only one that you control every single day with decisions you make is also the only one that determines whether or not somebody wants to be your friend, your husband, or your wife, which is your character. And there's certain things that are a part of that character, and perhaps the most important one is, you know, if you want to acquire a friend, you got to be there when that friend needs you, not when it's convenient for you. So I don't know. That's probably my. The habits of being in the Senate, being able to talk as long as I want to. That was a pretty simple question, but a long, complicated answer.
and a very well said answer too, Senator. And obviously, we've all been dealing with the pandemic here and the coronavirus. I have 4 children myself. It's radically changed the way our day-to-day life goes. How has the coronavirus, for you, being a grandfather, how has it affected you? Have you been able to see your grandkids? Have everyone been quarantined from you? How have you kind of handled the whole situation?
Well, I mean, first of all, my financial circumstances, I never, when it comes to healthcare, I never have to ask the question, can I afford this? Some of that comes from the federal law that takes care of people like myself that get injured in a war. But I'm getting a prosthetic made right now in New York, and I'm not worried about the cost. It's a big deal. I have an 18-year-old just diagnosed with type 1 diabetes 2 weeks ago, and we don't worry about that cost either. So it's just simple stuff. Wear face mask, is, maintain a little bit of social distancing and just be careful. So, I think that we've managed to do that without anybody in my immediate family. I've got friends who've had COVID-19, but I don't have any. Our family's been relatively safe. Again, in part because we've got the capacity to do what you have to do. I'm not a healthcare worker. I don't have to get up in the morning and go to work. I haven't spent a penny on dry cleaning for 6 months. So,
Well, I'll tell you what, you're very seasoned in these areas. My oldest is just about to he's going to be a freshman in high school. So I got a long way to go, and we're just about to hit all these fun things they change through driving and dating and that social scene. So you've been there and done that, grandkids, the whole bit. What type of advice did you give your kids as they hit that dating scene?
It's different for my son and for my daughter. I mean, my son, I got to say, respect that woman and respect yourself. But I know what it's like to have a amygdala that develops 6 or 7 years before my prefrontal cortex does. I mean, you're going to get led around by desire, and you're going to wonder where that came from. And I'm not going to be there when you make the decision. So there's certain things you can that you have to ask yourself, and then they're your rules. And the same is true with drugs and other sorts of things that can get you in trouble. I won't be there with you when you make that decision. So respect the woman. To my daughter, as soon as she goes through puberty, she gets pregnant. And there's no going back in that moment. You're pregnant. And now you got 3 choices, and they're all really hard choices to make. So if you decide you're going to carry the baby, I told my daughter this story about parenting. Again, this is going to push the time probably more than you want. But I was at a Memorial Day event, and a guy next to me was older than me and older than my dad. Turned out he'd been in the First World War, and he could remember Chateau Terre and Belleau Woods and getting gas like it was yesterday. He was 17 when he went. And I gave him my personal phone number. I was in the Senate and told him, Jesse, you call me if I can ever help you. And he called me on his 100th birthday. And he said, I need to tell you a little bit about myself before I ask for some help. He said, I live alone. I've outlived 2 wives. I've outlived 2 children. He said, I do everything myself. I still drive a car. The only thing I can't do is my shirts. I have to send those out. I said, okay, Jesse, what's your problem? He said, my problem is, Senator, he said, I've got an 80-year-old son and a 78-year-old daughter, and I don't know how I'm going to be able to pay for their nursing home care. So I said to my daughter, don't think, it's not like it ends when your child is 18 or graduates from college. You're a parent forever. And it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing, but it's a real thing. So, and in my case, I'd also say to him, you got a special status. You're the son or daughter of a governor or senator. Do not bitch to me if you're at a party of people drinking underage and you get busted and the headline says Governor Kerry's daughter gets arrested. You get lots of things that are good as a consequence of being the son or daughter of a member of the Senate or governor. Don't bitch when you get something bad as a consequence of that status. So with status comes responsibilities, and they're both good and bad.
Yeah, awesome. Very well said. And I know that you've had the career in the Senate. You were governor. Did any of your kids, or are any of them interested in getting into politics themselves and following in your footsteps there?
I've seen no indication of that at the moment. But I didn't, I didn't decide I wanted to get into politics till I was 39. I was in business, and I just decided that I was going to be a candidate for governor. It wasn't like I checked all the boxes. I ran and I won. So my guess is it's likely that. But one thing I will know is that I do know about them is I'm not going to sit on the sidelines, because I do think, among the great challenges I think in America is, and you can really see it with this Black Lives Matter situation, we're facing things that make us ashamed, right? And the question is, either as an individual or as a nation, can you face, in this case, slavery and Jim Crow? Can you face things that make you ashamed of your country and still feel pride at the same time? And if you can feel pride, it means that when you see or hear something America did that you don't like, you don't check out. You don't say, well, I'll let somebody else worry about keeping our country going in the right direction. So I know that they're not going to sit on the sidelines. Whether they become candidates for office, I don't know. That'll be up to them and their spouses.
What about as far as yourself here? What kind of plans or goals here? I mean, you've had a long established career yourself. What kind of plans or goals do you have for the future?
Well, I mean, the good news is I'm still alive. So, you know, I set a world record this morning. This is the longest I've ever lived. So I'm grateful for that. I've plenty of reasons to be happy to still be drawing breath. And I'm still working. I'm a managing director at a little merchant bank, Allen Company in New York City. And, you know, I've continued, but I'm not going back into politics if that's where the question was leading. I'll be 77 tomorrow, and I'd rather younger people get in the game and do that. I think it's a good thing for them.
You could have helped me out there if you dropped a new campaign here on the show, but that's all right.
No, I'm not. One ex-wife's enough.
All right. Last thing I'm going to hit you with here, Senator. I love to ask all the dads that I get on the podcast, what type of advice do you have for that new dad or for that about to be father who's out there listening?
Well, don't quit. You know, don't expect perfection. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to do things you wish you hadn't done. You're going to feel, and it's like I was talking about, you know, shame and pride at the same time. Be proud that you're a dad. And when you do something you wish you hadn't done, you feel some shame about it. Don't let that kill the pride that you've got and the fact that you're a father and the pride that you feel in another human being. Let them know you love them, and most of the rest of it will take care of itself. So it's a really brave thing to be a parent. It's not a small thing. It's a big thing, and it requires a certain amount of bravery and a certain amount of perseverance through those moments when you don't do as good a job as you wish you had.
Yeah, great stuff. I love the message. This has been an honor for me. I got to say, Bob Kerrey, you are a first-class father all the way, and thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time on First Class Fatherhood.
Yeah, thanks for doing this.